Thanks for staying with Newsnight. A Northwest community will be able to return to land they had farmed for almost a century, thanks to a landmark Constitutional Court victory. Members of the Letsehleng community challenged an eviction notice previously approved by the Northwest High Court. The order allowed two mining companies to stop the applicants from farming on land they claim rights to. eNCA reporter Erin Bates has been following that case for us, and she's just returned from that community. The community is obviously thrilled, Erin.
They are, but now they really want the title deed. So the main applicant in this case, Grace Maledu, actually said to us, this is just the beginning for the community. But Vuyo, what's so interesting about the story is it touches on the 1930 Native Lands Act, which prohibited black land ownership in national registries, a racist piece of legislation. Then what happened under apartheid with the different Bantustans, as they were known then, the homelands, and what's happened subsequently in terms of national mining policy. But to get a real sense of the history of this particular farm, Modimo Malo, and the significance of the name that the Letsehleng community gave it, let's hear what a community leader had to say.
Around 1916, they started buying this piece of land by battering their cattle, their corn, so as to pay for the land. And they did so over the stretch of these years from 1916 up to 1919. And in 1919, when they finally paid for the land, they exclaimed saying, Modimo Malo. In English, will be saying, oh God, we finally made it.
And what has been the impact of that eviction notice, which was approved by the Northwest High Court?
Well, what's so interesting and what's so fundamental about actually going to this farm, Modimo Malo, and seeing the surrounding community in Letsehleng is that you get a very tangible sense of what's going on there with the platinum mining. And also that some people chose to leave, apparently receiving around 25,000 Rand in a once-off payment, and actually elected to be evicted from the land when this mining sort of was planned around 2014, but other people insisted on staying, including Grace Maledu, this main applicant out of the 38. But it also draws in, Vuyo, issues around traditional leadership, because there's a dispute over the Khosi in that area, who oversees 32 Bakhatla villages, one of which is Letsehleng. And the allegation from the community is that he's used the democracy of these 32 villages to pass an agreement that the mine could come onto Modimo Malo, when in fact the affected community of Letsehleng did not agree to it. And in fact, we had some very serious allegations against Khosi Pilane from members of the community. This is what one councillor had to say.
We've been waiting for this judgment for almost 5 months now. 4 months, 5 months. But then someone will come and say, this judgment is just an ordinary judgment.
And it's all the judges of the Constitutional Court?
Yes, all.
But maybe he doesn't respect the law. Maybe he respects his own law.
You know, you've got this thing, he always tell our council that he's creating a law. He's creating, I don't know, how is he creating a law?
So we still don't know what Jose Pilane's reaction to this, and whether in fact he has people supporting him.
No, we don't. And in fact, I've been trying to find a number for someone involved in his council, in his sort of groups. It's clear the Letsehleng community is unhappy with Pilane. And in fact, some of the councillors I spoke to, a treasurer, called him the retired or the former Khosi, because in his view, he should have stepped down in 2012. So there's this dispute over traditional leadership, and the allegation that traditional leadership in the form of Khosi Pilane has basically sided with this mining company and allowed them to forge ahead in platinum mining in the Northwest when they haven't got the consent of the occupants of the land. Whether or not they have a title deed with the names of their ancestors on it or not, these are the people who occupy the land and are empowered by a law from 1996 to have a stake in whether or not that land is mined. We spoke to a very outspoken community leader who's actually from a neighboring village who came to the Lekgotla on Sunday to show her support for the people of Letsehleng. Let's hear some of what she had to say.
There was never any proper consultation. I can just tell you that he does that with many other things, where he will call a group of people, wherever, bus them, with the people not exactly knowing what is going to be said. Now, after you have signed the register, he's going to use that register for many other resolutions which do not speak to the needs of the people.
This case obviously has huge implications, Aaron, for several other communities throughout the country. The involvement of traditional leaders, what mining companies should or shouldn't do, even when they get actual proper, permits for to mine.
Exactly, and what the Constitutional Court said on Thursday was nothing new. It simply underlined and affirmed an existing law, part of a 2002 Act on Mineral and Petroleum Resource Development, which says that there needs to be exhaustive and proper consultation with the affected parties, whether or not they have title deeds, they have informal land rights, whatever the case may be. But just to come back to the main applicant in this case, Vuyo, Grace Maledu, who actually took us to part of Modimo Malo and where she keeps goats, where she grows morocha and sorghum and the like. Here's just some of what she had to say to us. There'll be more coming up on eNCA later with my package. But from the horse's mouth, as it were, from the main applicant in this case, the woman who drove this matter all the way to the Constitutional Court.
My opinion is we want the land.
To do what?
So that we can decide what can we do with the land. We cannot decide without land.
You need the land first.
We need the land first. And we need also title deed for that land. Could you please, people, help us to get our land in our hands with title deed?
Major victory indeed for the woman who decided to go all the way to the Constitutional Court, what has now become a landmark court victory. Of course.